hey there, Marie Greene from Olive Knits here, and for today's Knitting Rescue 911, we're talking about how to close that gap when you are casting on with a cable cast on, you're working in the round, and when you join, you tend to have a gap like this. Now, this may happen with other cast-ons as well, but I know it happens with the cable cast-on. And so we're going to talk about how to close that gap. You don't need to avoid this cast on just because of the gap. It's actually a great cast on. It provides a lot of great structure for top-down sweaters, but you do want to know how to make a nice tidy edge without having this unsightly gap, because that's certainly not what we want, right? So make sure you've left yourself a tail, and you'll need a yarn needle in order to complete this process. And what I'm going to do is I'm working on the right side at first, and I actually cross over this gap using my working yarn, my tail, and I cross over the gap, and I'm going to reach under. If you look closely, you can see these little twists from the cable cast on. Now, instead of going down here, which might look like the place to go, because it does look like there's a little gap there, that's not where I recommend going, because you'll still have a gap. So go up to the top and look at that top edge, look for those twists, and you want to go under the first double strand. That's one of the features of the cable cast on, and it does have two little strands in those twists. That's part of what gives it that structure, which is great for seamless sweaters. And I'm going to go under that double strand. I'm coming across the front on the right side. Again, this is a little counterintuitive. We might be thinking we should be doing this on the wrong side, but you're actually going to do it on the right side. Now, when you pull it together, you might be closing up a little bit of extra gap, not just at the top, but maybe below if there's been some tugging over time. If it's been kind of sitting dormant or being tugged in your bag, in and out of your bag, that little gap might be accentuated. Don't sweat that. We can actually go on the inside now. Once we cross the gap, so that's what we've done, cross the gap, and then we're going to kind of pull that tight, and then we can start to weave behind the scenes here to create a little more closure. So I just came under both legs of a stitch below to kind of close up that extra big gap. You can see it's starting to look better already, and it's already starting to look like it should. And the goal here is to make it almost like that gap never existed. So what I'm going to do, because that cable cast on is about the double strands, I'm going to go back through to the front one more time, a little bit below where I actually wanted to be. That's okay. And then I'm going to bring it back up, and I'm going to go right back through where I did in the beginning, right under those double legs, so that what I've done is created a little double strand. Look at that. And now I've closed the gap. I've secured it. It's nice and sturdy. And now all I have to do is weave in my ends. And you can do that using your traditional method. I usually start from that neckline, kind of weaving through the first available column, and then I'll sort of branch out from there. So we've got a little start going. We've got our little gap closed. And then from there, you can sort of start to follow the natural revolution of the stitches so that you can really make sure it's secure. You can meander a bit. You can be creative with it. It doesn't have to be an exact science. And hey, it's knitting, so it's not an exact science all the time. Sometimes we have to improvise. So we have done a little bit of improvisation, and then we will just go ahead and trim that off. But now we don't have a gap. And that's the goal, is close that gap so that we can have a nice edge to our sweaters or anything we're knitting in the round. But when you're working with a cable cast on, you're going to like knowing that trick. If you love learning new knitting tips and tricks, make sure to like and follow me here on YouTube so you'll be the first to know when new videos land.